Hi, I'm Sarah from The Oncoming. Such a pleasure to have you here with us on the red carpet. For people who don't know anything about The Beekeeper, what can they expect?
Well, I think you can expect Jason doing what Jason does best. I mean, I saw it a couple of months ago. It's just action-packed. It's so good. It's so much fun. I think where there's like so many deep, dark movies and such a lot of deep, dark stories like in the world right now, it's so nice to have like a real like fun, entertaining movie. I loved it. Yeah.
And of course, David has real form on these kind of action genre films, things that he's written and things that he's directed as well. When you first read that script, what jumped out to you?
For me, it was just the amount of action and the frequency of it. You know, it was pretty much like by page 10, I was like, oh, something's already happening. Oh my god! It just like didn't stop coming. And then when I actually met David as well, because you can't get much from a script, really, because obviously then David then does what he does with it. When I met David, it's just like how interested in story he is and character. He's such an interesting, like, detailed guy in his approach. I just think, honestly, I just loved it.
Playing your character, I mean, I think in this day and age, we've all been scammed at some point.
Yeah, I
Or
have.
whether your mum or your grandma.
Yeah, my dad has as well. Yeah. And
What did you think when you took on that character? Did you almost like, you know what, I'm going to really dig into this. I'm going to really play the ultimate antagonist.
yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, I think you've got I think you've kind of got to be your own character's lawyer in a sense. You know, you've got to find a reason why like that makes sense in his mind. But I mean, I did have to stretch to kind of get on board with it. But yeah, I mean, I think that's why it's so satisfying as well for the audience, is because everyone's like, oh, I hate those guys, me included. Do you know what I mean?
Did you have to do any sort of like method acting? Tech bro, go to San Francisco. How did you sort of find this guy?
No, I wish. No. But for me, it was more chatting with David and just figuring out like a real story for him, like of how he arrived there. And then that kind of does all the work for you. Do you know what I mean? Once you know where they've been and why they're like the way they are, it's like kind of just gets born. Certainly, it's a million miles away. I'd like to think from myself, you know, being like a working class Essex boy, do you know what I mean? But that's why it was so much fun as well, because it's like you don't always get to play roles that are like wildly different from you, and like when you do, I mean, so lucky, aren't I?
And I thought it was interesting. There's actually a lot of Brits in this very American film.
Yeah.
Jason, you, obviously Jeremy, Minnie. We all practicing your accents together. You know, how did this come about? Was there a bit of camaraderie on set?
I don't know about practicing together, but I mean, I lived in LA for a few years, so fortunately I just like tuned back into that frequency. Yeah, like certainly there's that added pressure, but also I didn't drop the accent from the moment like I got to work every day until I left, because I was like, I don't want everyone, as soon as they call action, to be listening out for it. I'd rather they find out I'm English afterwards. So yeah, so that was my way of dealing with it, but no idea how anyone else did.
And what about Jason? Did you sort of like, have you watched a lot of his films? Is he an icon to you, both, I guess, here with the British films he's done and in Hollywood? I mean, he's one of those rare people that seems to have conquered both sides of the sea.
Yeah, he's like a proper movie star. Like, he's a proper movie star, and I don't think that happens very often these days. Certainly not to the point where, like, I mean, Jason has been as big as he is for years and years and years. Usually people kind of have, like, waves, do you know what I mean? And they kind of have a big few years and they die down. Jason just doesn't stop. Yeah, it was amazing to meet him. Obviously you have that kind of weird, like, it's weird meeting someone when you already feel like you know them. But then he's such a warm, friendly guy as well that... And you know, he's not from like a million miles away from where I'm from in real life, you know, or rather where we were born. Do you know what I mean? So you kind of have that like, oh, you have the same sort of experience. So yeah, he's wicked. He's such a nice guy.
I remember hearing an interview with him actually, and he came across so sort of humble, with such humility, sort of saying, you know, his background wasn't in acting and he didn't train in theatre. But he has such a passion for the action genre. In fact, David was saying he learned a lot from Jason about the action genre. So what was it like? Did that come across on set too?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first time I met Jason, he was like rearranging a whole fight scene. Yeah. Like, you know, you spent quite a lot of money on like a big Hollywood like fight director to come in, and Jason thought, well, actually it's going to be this. But all of his ideas were right, you know, and so like he really collaborates, and that's so nice to see, because, you know, I imagine there's a lot of actors, you know, get to the point where Jason is, where they just start phoning it in, but there was none of that. Like, Jason really cares. really cares.
And of course, he performs a lot of his own stunts. I mean, like, I bet that doesn't happen very often. What were some of the highlights and challenges, you know, in that respect? Did you see anything go wrong, or was it just all very fun?
Well, challenges for me was that I had to do, and it not crazy stunts with him, but any sort of fighting with him. I don't know if you're getting that vibe, but I couldn't punch my way out of a paper bag. Do you know what I mean? So, like, feeling like the pressure of like that, because it's choreography as well, and dancing is another thing I can't do. I can't dance. So, like, yeah, definitely it was a challenge doing that. But again, like, he's, you know, very kind of welcoming and helpful, and it was just, I mean, what a cool experience, you know?
You know, what can people take away from watching the film? I guess there is that mythology underpinning it, but as you say, it's a bit of escapism. And also, can you tell us what you might be working on next?
Yeah, I can't tell you what I'm working on next. But what I can say is that in terms of the movie, what can I take away? I think it's satisfaction. Like, the bad guys get what they deserve. Do you know what I mean? And we're all so horrible in it that, like, that it's satisfying watching. Do you know what I mean?
100%. I'm really enjoying the night. Thanks for your time. Thank you.